This is Lon Winters with Graphic Elephants.
This is Jimmy Lamp.
This is Matt Vassallo with the RhinstoneWorld.com.
And you're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
And you are listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by...
My name is Terry Combs, RG, regular guy.
And Aaron Montgomery.
We're just regular guys having fun and trying to make a living in this really cool and exciting industry.
I think we all want to succeed 100% of the time.
Seek to understand before I try and make myself understood.
Bring a ton of great information.
Coming to you live from somewhere dark, dirty, and dank.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, August 11th, 2023. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. Terry, we are sitting here shuffling. What was the saying with it? Your
shuffle your feet, lose your seat.
Shuffle your feet, lose your seat. So we are punting today, and excited to. We're going to talk about participating in the industry, and really just kind of dive into that aspect today. I know some of you guys said, wait a second, that's not what the show said. Well, sometimes people don't show up, and it happens. So we're all good. I've still got my glasses on so I can actually read some stuff as we get into this, Terry. So we're gonna have a great show today. We're gonna talk about participating in the industry, all the W words: why, what, how. Wait, how's not a W word, but you get the point, right?
All the words.
All the words. We're going to use all the words. So no, this is going to be good. We've kind of had this one sitting here, and we've gone, okay, when should we do this? Should we schedule it? Should we, you know what? Let's hold on to this just in case a situation like this happens, because this is a topic that I think we're pretty excited to talk about anyways. And it's going to work out. So we've got that. We also have the secret sauce coming up. Terry is going to be delivering the secret sauce. My mouth's already watering a little bit there. And he's going to be talking about testing for proper screen print cure. So hang on in till the end there, Terry. So are we ready to kind of keep moving forward here? So the other thing, I guess I should mention as we're talking about things that won't really happen today. We don't have a news segment today either, but for good reason. We knew about that. This is not a surprise to us. So with Adrian moving away from Screen Printing Magazine over to DTF.com, Screen Printing Magazine is still trying to get their legs underneath them. Obviously she was a huge part in that. And so they said, hey, we appreciate the opportunity for this. We don't really know what we're doing quite yet. Can we get our feet underneath us here first? I said, absolutely. When you guys are ready, let us know. We'll get you back in here. And then Adrian's like, hey, we don't even have anything built here yet. She's building that from the ground up. So anyhow, yeah. We could probably have gone.
Her successor at Screen Printing Magazine is let me figure out what my job is here first before I venture out. And just the opposite for Adrian. Let me get this thing built.
Yeah, get this thing built before
I start.
Yeah. And I'm sure we could have reached out to Matt or Cassie and they would have come through for us, but we already ask a lot of them. So I just said, you know what, we'll take a little break from the news this week, and I think it's Matt coming back next week, if I remember correctly. I don't have the schedule in front of me. So,
but when I read the outline and it said no news this week, I thought, really, nothing. Really, there's no news. Nothing happened.
It's the old adage, Terry. No news is good news, right? Nobody's been fired. Nobody has been no Dove Charney sightings or anything like that. So
everything is status quo.
And I just got the head shake from Eric on that one. So good. I'm doing. I love it. All right. Well, let's Terry, before we get moving further though, let's go ahead and talk to some of the regulators here, and we can just go back to the top. We had Chuck checking in early this morning, so good morning, Chuck, and Jerry Dahlheimer checking in there, Terry, and also had Mr. Todd Downing from Fat Dad Wholesale. Good morning to all. And then Barb letting us know North Central Minnesota listening while I work. So excited to have you here, Barb. And our good friend David Gross from Condi Systems also checking in this morning. So we got a lot of people tuned in. Ramona, good morning. And Rena, my assumption, Terry, there should be quote marks. I think she's missing quote marks there.
Around
Good morning, gentlemen. All right. So, and then do you want to share what Todd has here for us? Because I really
Aaron Kent joining us while his brother is saving the world. Aaron is saving small businesses.
So with the Clark Kent, I got it, Todd. So I don't. All right, and then you probably know this guy, Mr. Douglas Quinn, checking in. Smooth talkers, that'd be us, right? And then Becky, good morning to you. Who else we got? They just keep coming. Yeah, there we go. Martha, good morning to you as well. All right. Well,
this show is a good one to have participation from the regulators as well today. So
yes,
talking about participation in the industry, because you're kind of doing that by tuning in here. I feel like.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a really good point, Terry. So anything that you guys have that, when it comes to participation, what does that look like for you? What could you do more, right? What does it mean to you? I don't know. What are some of the other questions that come to your mind on this topic, Terry?
Well, I think it's going to be more along the lines of, you're giving, but you're also receiving. And I think that's the basic, and also no trophies. There's no participation trophies here.
Yes, no participation trophies here. That's true, unless you're a trophy shop, and then you can make them for yourself.
Make all the trophies you want. Right.
That's right.
So I want a trophy that says I showed up to work every day this week. That's it.
Yeah, that's the participation trophy. Well, Terry, when you talked about that though, that's interesting. You brought something to mind when you talked about, you get and give, or give and get, that kind of thing. It just reminds me of something that a mentor of mine told me at one point that really has stuck with me for a long time. And I was trying to ask him, okay, what can I do for you in return for you helping me with this? And he said, Aaron, I learned a long time ago that you just can't outgive the universe. And I was like, huh. Interesting. And so I try to live by that, and it's served me very well. So that may be kind of spun into what I talk about today for sure. So,
awesome.
All right. Well, we do have an awesome dad joke today. It's Eric approved even. So this is very good. We got the high sign.
I even said to Eric, I thought of you when I saw this joke.
So we're going to get to that in 1 second. Before we get too far away from it, because we were just talking about it, Todd had a comment here that I wanted to bring in here. He says, give without expecting back. Right. And that's
100%.
And it can be a hard thing to do for sure. But I think the more we think about things in that term, I think the better off we're going to be. So now it's time for the dad joke, Terry. So we also have a new little fun thing here. So are you ready for that dad joke, Terry?
I'm ready. Let's do it,
Eric.
I love the intro, man. All right. Aaron, do you know the difference between a literalist and a kleptomaniac?
I had to look up both those words, but no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, a literalist takes things literally. A kleptomaniac takes things literally.
I did actually know those words, but I just all right. Well, see, that's like almost a little bit too smart for a dad joke, though.
It was deep. It's very deep.
It is deep. That's more like what was that Saturday Night Live skit they used to do? Was it Jack Handy? I think it was. If some of you younger folks, you may want to go look that up, because it gets a little deep. So, all right. Well, Terry, let's get us moving here.
All right. Before we go any further, we want to thank everyone for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We need your voices. We're getting a few in, but we would love to have the regulators participate in the show intros. Go to decorators.inc/intro and read a few sentences to be a part of every show. And as I said, we've gotten a few in, but don't be left out. We want your participation. It'll take a couple of minutes out of your day, and you will live on in infamy. No, you'll live on until next year when we record more. If you're listening to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. And we would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, wherever you do your podcast listening. We are there. And if you're watching us live right now, as I mentioned before, please join in with your comments and your questions.
Excellent. Yes. All right. Well, Terry, normally we would welcome in a guest right here, but I'm going to welcome you in and welcoming myself in here. And let's talk about participation in the industry. So, Terry, where should we start with this here today?
Well, I think it's going to be a matter of, what do you feel comfortable with in participating, and let's be honest, what do you feel uncomfortable with, but you feel like it could be something that you want to do. When I remember doing my first seminar, and of course that's where Two Regular Guys came from. I was doing it seminar with Mark Venett, MBA. And I remember, I mean, I don't think I slept for 3 days before I got there. I was just so nervous. And back in those days, this was 1991. There were, there'd be 150 people in every seminar at ISS, currently the Impressions Expo. And so, man, to go up and face that crowd, but when I went up and introduced myself as Terry Combs RG, regular guy, and the room erupted, I thought, oh, sweet. Now I'm glad I came. This is good. and look where that led to, Aaron. Here we are every week up on stage talking to people. But participation is, we talked about this too in the past. When I first got started in the industry, everything was kind of secretive. Everything was, I have the secret of printing on dark garments in my screen printing shop. Well, no, you didn't have a secret, but you thought you did. And I think that with the advent of certainly more and more trade shows, certainly the internet, I think it's opened up a lot of doors, and I think people realize that, I don't have a secret, but I have information to share that might help the next person. Because, man, I certainly could have used some help when I first started. I had Scott Fresner's book, How to Print T-Shirts for Fun and Profit, and and I taught myself to screen print. The very first ISS show I went to was soon after I started my business, and it was the very first ISS show. There weren't a lot of shows. There weren't a lot of places to go. There were like sporting goods shows and things like that, where there might be one seminar on garment decorating, that sort of thing. A lot of the folks at the shows were selling transfers and things like that. So the industry's come a long way in the opportunity to participate. But man, I tell you, and we get it from this show a lot, Aaron. Being at a trade show and somebody come up to us, or we did a seminar together once. I think it was in Long Beach, and somebody came up to us afterwards and said, I just came to this seminar because you guys were teaching it, because I listen to you guys every Friday, and thank you so much for sharing all this information and bringing on all those great guests to share their information. So I kind of went off on the weeds, but for me, the participation in the industry, and I didn't know when I started, was how rewarding it is knowing that you've helped another business, another person to take that step into the industry, or take that step forward with their own businesses, and make life a little easier for them, and make their business a little more successful.
Yeah. Well, Terry, and I feel like we can take that and go even a little bit further with that. And like you said at the beginning, right? You give and then you get, and that's kind of what this is all about. I mean, while it's been fantastic from a fulfillment standpoint to be able to share all of this stuff with people and be able to bring in all of these guests, at the very same time, you and I and Eric we've had a front row seat to these learning opportunities, right? We've been able to build relationships with those folks that have come on and become guests. It's led to opportunities for us. So while we put a lot of time and effort and work into bringing this, right? I mean, today is 511 or something like that, if I remember right. The things that happen besides this hour of time, there's a lot that goes into that, right? And we all participate in that. But the reality is what we get back from it in return. If you were just trying to be somebody that's going, okay, I got to put this on paper, what is the ROI of my time? Or it's just not even fathomable, like all of the opportunities. So I think that's something that is another reason why, if you're not participating, to ask yourself, why not? Right. Well, what's holding you back from that? I think, like you said earlier, maybe it was I have to keep that close to the vest. It's a secret. The internet has certainly changed that, like you said. But the reality is, just because you know how to print a dark t-shirt isn't going to make or break your business if somebody else finds out how to do that. What makes your business unique, and nobody can take this, nobody can steal it, nobody can learn it, because what makes your business unique is you and the individuals that are a part of that, right? Everybody has their own, we all have certain strengths that are kind of like our fingerprints, right? No two are alike. We all have different strengths in different areas, and they kind of interact and work together differently. And so your quote unquote secret is how you go about doing things, right? And so you're trying to maximize that, and then learning from other people's perspectives, right? So if I'm going back to your dark shirt kind of idea there, if I'm printing dark shirts and somebody else learns how to print dark shirts, well, if I help them, right, they're more inclined to also share information back, and then we both get better, right? And so it then also goes into the thing I love to share, the rising tide lifting all boats. So I love that, Terry. I love that whole idea. And I think it's just a counterintuitive way. I think by nature, humans are competitive, right? When we were in the caveman days, there wasn't food for everybody, right? So we had to compete. We had to do things like that. But nowadays, it's just a different world. There's no need for that, but our human instinct's still there. So I think looking at things from a little different perspective is so crucial for our future success in general.
And Aaron, also, I'm sure a lot of people think, well, I don't know anything. Everybody knows what I know, and that's not true. And I talked about it in my secret sauce the other day about flashing between colors. Every screen printing class I do, and I've been doing screen printing classes for 20 years, every class, someone goes, wait a minute, I thought you were supposed to flash after every color you print. So no, not everybody out there knows all those things that you know. And especially if you're going to go do seminars at a trade show, start with the beginning seminars where those people don't know anything and about the industry other than maybe watching a couple of YouTube videos. So everything they know is wrong. And if you just share your experience, and as you might guess, Aaron, when I do my classes, I tell a lot of stories.
What? No way. That's totally.
And I've had so many people come up to me and say, when you tell the story about how it impacted you or how you did this thing, it brought it home to me. It made it more clear to me by telling that story. Now I will have to tell you, I had a class in Chicago a couple of years ago, and the comment was too many stories or something like that. And this person was a chemistry professor at some esteemed university, and she just wanted the facts, man, just the facts.
Just give me the facts.
But I'm like, wow, this class would only be like 3 hours long if I didn't tell any stories. But nobody wants to hear, do step 1, step 2, step 17, step 18, step 19. They want to understand, like how I came about to do what I do this way or that way, or if the internet says this, why do you do it like that? Most of it comes from me saying, all right, I was standing in the middle of my production floor, scratching my head, going, there's got to be a better way to do this. And that's basically my roots in the industry, standing in the middle of my production floor going, there has got to be a better way. Let me figure it out. Yeah. And then when I started writing articles in the industry 30 years ago, I was actually just sharing those experiences, I couldn't figure out how to make this more efficient until I took a step back and I did this and this and this. And then all of a sudden, all those people out there are taking those experiences and getting a step ahead of everybody else. I ran into, I had a competitor that I barely knew when I first started screen printing in 1979. And I ran into this guy like 20 years later. And I thought, man, those guys really know what they're doing over there. They're really good. And when I ran into him, he said, ever since, we were competing back in Athens, Ohio, I've been saving every article you write. I have a big binder of every article. I thought, well, isn't that cool? This guy I thought was really a master printer. They did some really nice work. He thought that he could take a nugget from each one of those articles to make his business better. And so all of us out there, all of you guys out there who are listening, you have nuggets of information that would really help another business. And so now what we're talking about today, I guess, is sharing that information.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I guess right now, Terry, we're kind of on the subject of, why we should participate instead of kind of sitting in the stands and hoarding things and kind of, trying to figure out how you can create your advantage by, being closed in. Right. And so Barb shares in the comments, and you guys listening in here, definitely jump in here with what your thoughts are on this stuff. Right. We're sharing from our perspective, but I want your perspective. Terry wants your perspective. Right. So Barb says sharing creates a great network system. And for sure, right? You get that, you build that network, you find out who the other people are that are interested in that topic. So you can kind of, almost kind of mastermind together in a sense. And one other thing that showed up for me, Terry, was I remember back. So I started playing volleyball when I was, it was a girl, right? There was a girl I liked in high school, and she was a volleyball player, and so that's why I started playing volleyball. And then, but there was no boys volleyball back in my area during that time, and so guys didn't play volleyball. It was a girls' sport, blah blah blah. But I kind of fell in love with it, and I enjoyed playing, and I played every chance that I got. And I would say that I don't know, mediocre at best would be kind of my level of skill. And one of my friends that I play volleyball with said, hey, this club that I work for, this volleyball club that I work for, is looking for a volunteer assistant to coach. And I thought to myself, kind of what we're talking about here. I'm like, I just started playing. What do I know about volleyball? What do I have to give? Right. And he's like, no, just come on over. They really just need help kind of corralling the kids in a sense. Right? It was like a 14s team or something like that. And so I went over there, and it was the best experience ever for me personally when it came to my volleyball skills. Right. Because I got to it made me start thinking about, okay, I know I do this, and some of these things I'm just doing instinctually because that's what I thought I needed to do. What's the actual technique behind it? Why does that matter? How can I get better at it? And so in the process of trying to figure out how to teach volleyball, I got exponentially better at volleyball myself, and even had some opportunities to play collegiately with, again, very little experience, never any formal coaching. It took me becoming a coach. Now, I then looked up to the coaches that had been coaching for a while and grabbed from them. So it was just kind of coming together. And so I think that's another thing. If you're man, I really want to become an expert in something, go out and start figuring out how to teach it. Like Terry mentioned, start at that beginner level, because we don't have to be the end all be all expert of what it is that we're trying to share. All we have to do is be just one step ahead of the people that are going to be tuned in. Right?
Exactly.
Just one step. And so we're going to basically, if you were to look at it, it's like kind of like climbing a mountain. You're reaching your hand back to hand off some information and pull them up while you reach to the person in front of you. And it's just, we all keep moving up the ladder, so to speak. So,
I love that thought that you have there. And I have, especially when I was running a production floor and have lots of employees and I needed to teach them. I would write articles on subjects that I didn't necessarily know a lot about, but I wanted to. So I would research it and then boil it down to an article. And gosh, probably hundreds of my articles that I've written are that me wanting to know more about a subject, researching it, boiling it down, and now handing it off to folks in the industry and via magazines or seminars and things like that. So I guess I had a very similar experience to you because, just wanting to know more about a subject.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's so true. And I mean, heck, that is the way that my Small Business Saturdays started. It was, okay, I want to figure out these topics. I want to be able to write articles about it. I want to be able to learn more about it. We've been doing this Two Regular Guys thing, and we figure things out on the fly there. So why not?
You mean like today?
Or like today, for sure. Yeah. But here's the deal. We figured it out on the fly, kind of, but we had a plan in place, right? We learned from experience that,
right.
These things sometimes happen. So, all right, quickly from Becky here. She says collaboration over competition. Todd, yes, it's always a girl, or it's for some a guy, or the bar, right? Yeah. So Two Regular Guys for sure. The bar's involved.
One time in a bar.
Yeah, we started leaving that off the stories. Okay, and then Ramona says, I try to provide information that works for me with the premise of start here, and as you go, develop your own. Yeah, I think that's a really great premise. So,
and Aaron, one more thing that you mentioned before about getting back. I couldn't tell you how many times in a seminar or class that I was teaching, someone raised their hand and said, I tried this or I tried that and it worked really well. And I'm standing up there teaching the class going, you know what? That is an awesome idea. Well, that's a really, really good idea. I'm going to look more into that. And next class, I'm going to give you credit for it. And the class after that, it's going to be mine.
It's going to be Terry's idea. I've also learned that from you. So thank you. All right. Well, let's see here. Do we want to? All right. Well, you guys, again, what is it that you guys want to talk about when it comes to participation in the industry? What I want to know from folks, and maybe Terry, you and I can discuss this real quick too. What actually held us back from participating more, right? What were the things that maybe for you it was a bit longer ago, but
well, yeah, absolutely.
And then what you do to overcome it, I guess, would be the other.
I think it was confidence in what I was doing more than anything. I didn't start out and doing, simulated process printing and things like that. I just felt like, I would go to trade shows. Let me tell a story.
Terry, tell us a story.
I remember calling home about 10 years after I got into the business. And as I said, I started with the How to Print T-shirts for Fun and Profit from Scott and Pat Fresner. And I remember calling home about 10 years in and said, hey, I'm somebody in screen printing. And my wife said, oh, are you? I said, yeah, I was walking through the trade show and Scott Fresner said, hey, Terry, how you doing? And that was my moment of I'm somebody, from the jerk. I'm somebody. Yep. I'm in the phone book. Yeah. And of course I had a badge on too with my name, but I just started writing some articles and things like that. And I had a leg up. I do have a degree in journalism. So that was helpful to me. And of course the magazines were ecstatic about somebody who participates in the industry who also had a journalism degree. So it was a fairly easy start, although I was pretty nervous about even submitting ideas to the magazines. And it's like anything else. Once you're in the door, then all the magazines are reaching out to you. Hey, could you do an article on this? Could you do an article on that? Which would happen to all of you as well, because they're always looking for new voices. But I think the thing that held me back was just, there's nothing special about what I do, just like we were talking before. And everything that I don't know any more than any other decorator out there. And what I didn't appreciate at the time was how much time I spent trying to hone my craft. And hopefully that's what all of you guys are doing as well. And because it was putting bread on the table. I had to be better at what I did to compete. I started out in Athens, Ohio, 12,000 residents, 25,000 college students, and nothing for 2 hours any direction other than the Wayne National Forest. I was the sixth screen printer to open my doors. I had to be able to compete. I had to be able to claw back as much business as I could. And this was pre-internet. It wasn't like, you could sell in a very distinct niche market all over the country. I had to get business and create business from where I was. So I had to get better and better and better at what I did. And my assumption was always, well, everybody does this. No, they don't. They don't do that, and depend on people like myself, people like you, Aaron, people like Eric, to learn all these things with little to no effort.
Interesting. And Ramona actually says confidence in the belief that I actually had knowledge that someone else would want was kind of what was holding her back, and now she's doing a weekly show. So Terry, I want to just keep going with what you're talking about there, though. So what was, and Ramona, if you've got this too, and Todd says, I'm kind of a big deal online, in quotes. I've got a YouTube show, man. I'm a big deal. So Terry, how did you overcome that though? When you had that feeling like, I don't know any more than the next guy kind of thing. I've got nothing to share.
I think,
did you just all of a sudden just one day go, well, forget it, I'm going in? I doubt it, but
like with the articles, because I thought, I'm a pretty darn good writer. I should, and I would read the magazines, and think, oh, well, I know all about that or all about this. And another thing that happened to me too, though, was again, the sixth screen printer in my town. But I started getting more and more and more business. And I had this realization that, there are lots and lots and lots of screen printers. I've said this before. There aren't very many good screen printers. Why? Because they don't put the effort into it. So all these potential customers out there were getting burned and saw what I was doing and reached out to me. And so the business started coming because of I did good work and I delivered on time. I did good work and I delivered on time. That made me realize, well, maybe I am doing something here that is unique. And my estimating production time. Well, I had to do that so I could sleep at night. I had to come up with a formula for calculating how long it takes to do a job so I could actually do a schedule. And that was for my own well-being. And then I thought, gosh, I wonder if anybody else could use this information to schedule their production. I had a scheduling board system in my shop, and I thought, man, this is working really well. I have a board for every press, and every job was on that board, and my operators love to go to that board and move those magnets over with the name of the job on it to the finished area, and they would look to see where everybody else was on their schedule that day. And I thought, gosh, I wonder if anybody else could use something like this to be more efficient and also to motivate their staff. And so I wrote about that. In fact, I even sold the boards, the magnetic boards and the whole system to shops. And gosh, I tell you what, some of the company names that ordered that for me, I'm like, holy cow. I read about these guys in the magazines. They are a big deal printer, much bigger deal printer than I am, but they needed systems. They needed ways to be more efficient. And then it's like a boulder rolling downhill. Then I thought, well, you know what? I could speak at one of these events. I was doing a column in 3 different magazines at the same time, because again, I had something to share, and then they were reaching out to me, just like this show, Aaron. When we first started, we had no shows all the time because, well, hey, it's no big deal. I didn't even know what a podcast is. I got busy. And then all of a sudden, after we got traction, people are reaching out to us saying, hey, I'd love to be on your show. Is there an opportunity to be on your show? And I don't know what happened after show number 500, but we've had 2 no-shows since then. So something has
we got to get back to that
in the universe. It's been years since we've had a no-show, but anyway.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No, you totally did. Because the cool part about that whole story is, I hope it gives people an understanding that, because what I think what happens to a lot of us is we sit, and I know this is what's happened to me. I sit there and I look at, kind of where I want to go. And there's this big chasm there of like what I know, what I believe in myself right now, and where I want to go. And all I see is that big void, that chasm that I have to jump to get. And it feels like this unconquerable scenario. But the reality of it is these things, basically you just have to, you have to lean into it. You've probably heard people say that, like, what the hell does that mean? It means just actually start taking some action, any action, right? Write an article, put yourself out there, go on. Ramona shared how she got started as a friend of hers. Jeff Fuller pushed me to join him on his broadcast and allowed me to stumble through a couple of times. I have a stutter thought blocks when I'm nervous, and he convinced me that it didn't matter. Right. But we don't, all we see is that I can't do that because of these things, right? We don't see, okay, well, let me try this. Let me lean into it. I've told this story before, so I'm becoming like Terry, that I, not in a negative way, but I used Terry to kind of get to where I wanted to go. Terry had been doing this for a long time, the speaking and things like that. And in my mind, he was really good at it, which he is. And I said, wow, if I can do a seminar with Terry, I'll feel more comfortable because he's my buddy, he's my best friend, and we can do this. And I'll learn along the way, and I'll get better, right? And then you and I started collaborating a little bit, right? We like our slides, for example, right? We both were way different, but again, Terry was who I looked up to as like this incredible public speaker, and I wanted to be more like that. And so I could have just gone up, I'm never going to get there. But instead I said, let's try this. Let's do this together. And I think, we both grew out of it. And
absolutely.
So
I now have more than 2 words on each of my slides, and you now have less than 4 paragraphs on each of your slides.
Slightly less.
But and what a great way. And Ramona saying being on somebody's show, what great way to get started with something like this than to reach out and say you'd like to be a guest on 2 Regular Guys, because
sure.
We don't lack for dead air. We don't have dead air. Let me rephrase that. There, you can go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, Regular Guys, and pick a day. And we would love to have. We always look for new voices to be on the show. And hey, if you just want to tell us about your journey, how you got involved in the industry, and how you found your niche in the marketplace, people like to hear those stories. When I first got started and I would read Impressions magazine, that was like 200 pages every month. I would go straight to those shop studies where they would go into somebody's shop and they would talk about their business, and there'd be a dozen pictures. And man, I was like scouring those pictures, seeing how they did things and how they had their shop set up and how they had their presses set up. And so it's a baby step. It might be scary, and we've certainly had people get very nervous coming on the show.
Yeah,
but I think we kind of make people feel comfortable, and it's a great way to start telling your story.
Exactly, because if we were to try to edit these shows and take out all the ums and ahs and stuttering and whatnot, our shows would probably be about 10 minutes long. So,
I was just thinking that, well, gosh, if you're basing success on not making mistakes, holy cow, we would have been done long ago. And
yeah. But I think, and that's the fun part about it, right? Is you can do that. You can show up, and heck, I mean, we've had people on this show that were professional educators that just read from their slide deck, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? Am I in an alternate reality right now? But that was their comfort
my
zone.
true favorite, though, is because we always say, are there any questions you'd like us to ask to kind of lead into what you want to talk about? And I can't remember who it was, but the one gentleman sent us like names. 5 questions.
Yeah.
And when I asked the first question, he acted like I asked him, to something in calculus. It was like he looked at the camera like,
yeah.
I'm typing to you and Eric going, he sent us these questions, right?
And Susan says, I've learned more from my mistakes than from any book teacher I've ever had. So, but here's another thing you can do is also then look to those teachers, look to those other people, and the good ones are going to be willing to share their mistakes, share their stories, right? I know the one person gave you a hard time about too many stories in that class, Terry, but that's one of the things that makes you such a great educator is, as humans, we need those stories to be able to relate. Yes, we can look at the facts and all the figures and the how-tos, and everybody learns a little bit differently, but ultimately deep down inside of us, we've got to be able to relate it to ourselves. And so in a story, we can grab those bits and pieces out of that remind us of us or an experience that we've had. And so, learning from others' mistakes is also a great way to go about things.
A few years ago, you and me and Eric saw Johnny Cupcakes speak at printed or at what was it? ThreadX.
ThreadX. Yep. There you go. Thank
you. And his entire presentation for like an hour was all the mistakes he had made.
Yeah.
It was just one after another.
Yeah.
He goes, here's a good one. I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I had rolling pins made out of cardboard and I put the shirt inside? So his weekly shirt was inside of a rolling pin. And he said, the first customer who walked into my store said, you don't need rolling pins to make cupcakes. And he's like, he goes, oh my gosh, I'd never even thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. Eric says, I always tell people I'm the patron saint of failed embroidery so that I can forgive them in advance for ruining garments if they need it. So, okay. Well, Terry, let's take a quick break here. We got to keep ourselves on track a little bit here too.
Aaron, I think you are frozen, my friend.
Yes, indeed. It looks like Aaron froze up temporarily. We do have a little promotion for Aaron's book that just is coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and run that promotion and see if we can get Aaron back in the meantime, folks.
Hi, I'm Louis Montgomery.
On the backside
I
here,
want to tell you all about my dad's new book, The Fundamentals of Business Success. He wrote it to help small business owners like you fall in love with your business.
Hey, thank you, Louis. Yes, that's right. I was just tired of watching these small businesses be overwhelmed, just struggling and ultimately underpaid because they just didn't have a strong foundation to build off of. They were trying to create their business the way somebody else created their business, and they were never going to catch up.
It's not just about making money. It's about having fun and building something you're truly passionate about. My dad's new book breaks down everything into a 13-step cycle with plenty of practical applications so you can start taking action right away. Grab your copy at OurSuccessGroup.com/FBS book. Whether you're just starting out or looking to spice things up in your current business, this book will become your guide. Don't miss out on your chance to get this book at the introductory price, only available at OurSuccessGroup.com/FBS book.
Good job, Louis.
Yeah. I was so proud of him. He wanted to help me out. He even went and got his suit on. So
That's awesome.
thank you. All right. Well, I am back. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, but we're good. Appreciate you guys.
But you didn't freeze with one of those weird looks on your face like most people when it freezes.
I'll do better next time. I'll be like, all right, yeah, whatever. All right. Well, Terry, we don't have a ton of time left, but let's hit some, like, okay, here's some practical things, right? You talked a little bit about the writing stuff like that. So let's leave that for right now. If anybody wants to write, they can reach out to you, me, Eric as well. We all write for the industry magazines and whatnot, so we can get you in contact with the right people there. Let's talk about speaking a little bit, because I do think that our industry needs some fresh blood for sure. Just based on, as I go through the speaking list, it's like, okay, cool, really good speakers, heard them. I mean, even myself at times, right? I'm not sure what I'm going to do next year exactly, but so why don't we start there? Why don't you talk to us a little bit about kind of industry wise, or kind of what the options are, how they each operate? Sure. Maybe start us off there.
Yeah. So speaking at trade shows, you guys go, and there's probably some assumption that Impressions Expo or the DAX show or Graphics Pro reached out to all these people and said, hey, we want to pay you a lot of money, and we want you to come and speak at our event.
Sorry,
not the case. It's not a job. You're not going to make a lot of money. They pay you, a couple $300 to speak, depending on the event, maybe $400 on the high end. But all those seminars you see is all the trade shows will, and they do this, by the way, about a year ahead of time. They will put out a notice saying, we're looking for speakers, and you just have to make a paragraph long presentation about, here's what I would like to speak about. And usually you'll submit maybe 3 or 4 different ideas or more. A guy like Eric, where he has 8 seminars at an event, he'll have to do a whole bunch of options. But yeah, you can reach out to the magazine, or I'm sorry, reach out to the trade shows and say, hey, can you get me some information about speaking opportunities? All these shows are always looking for new voices, just like Aaron said. It's a lot of the same people over and over again, mainly because they're the only ones who said, hey, I'd like to have an opportunity. And maybe you don't feel comfortable doing 3 or 4 or 5 different options, just in one, and say, I would like to speak on this subject. Oh, and by the way, here's what I know about this. Here's how I am a quote expert on this. But so you've got Impressions Expo, again, always looking for speakers. The Graphics Pro Expo is a little different. They don't pay the speakers to speak. In fact, the speakers have to pay Graphics Pro Expo for that slot to speak in. So what does that mean? It's always going to be, or generally it's going to be a company that sponsors this, and there's going to be a sales pitch at the end. Because at Graphics Pro Expo, all the folks are going to they get to go to the seminar for free. There's no free lunch. That means you are going to get a sales pitch at the end. Now, have I spoken at Graphics Pro Expo? Lots of times, but always sponsored by Equipment Zone or someone like that pays for that time slot. You've got the DAX show in the Midwest. If you're in the Midwest, you probably go to the DAX show. They take really good care of their speakers, but again, you submit ideas, and Scott and Marge will take a look through there and maybe come back and say, hey, on a different topic, what do you think about speaking on this subject? And of course, after you get your feet on the ground doing that type of thing, then you're going to get more and more opportunities. Rather than reaching out to Scott Ritter at the DAX show, Aaron and myself and Eric, we're all going to get an email saying, hey, guys, what do you think about the next year's shows? What kind of subjects would you like to talk about? Or he also might say, I'm really looking for someone to talk about this or this or this, to kind of to meet his audience. And because they do survey their attendees, and what would you like to hear about? What subject would you like to have somebody touch on for you? But it's a little scary. Here's what I used to do. I would stand in my living room and do my presentation as if I was doing that presentation to the audience, and I would set a timer, because what feels like a lot of info that to fill most of these seminars an hour 20 minutes. You can go through a lot of slides in an hour and 20 minutes. So, the first time you practice it, you might find that, well, I did the entire presentation in 30 minutes. So maybe you need to add a little bit more content. Maybe you need to slow down. That's a biggie. People tend to talk too fast. Make sure that you start interacting with your audience, because I rarely get to all my slides in a presentation, because I'm notorious for, and Aaron and Eric can attest to this, for thinking I don't have enough information. That's why we have shows that go for 3 episodes, because I didn't think we had enough information. So I just packed the outline. But once you start interacting with the audience, and by the way, that's when you suddenly relax, is when somebody raises their hand and asks a question. And I always say, don't wait till the end. Ask your question when you have your question, when it comes into your head, and we will address it. And because whatever question you have, 5 other people in this room have the same question, but they don't want to raise their hand. So once that interaction starts, then you're going to just relax. And then all of a sudden it's a conversation with your audience. Yep. But I went all around that subject, but
no, I think you covered it really well. You gave us all the parts and pieces. When you're talking about the questions with the audience and stuff like that, one thing that I've also started to implement a little bit more into my classes is, at the very beginning, get them talking, right? Get them kind of engaged. So the first question I always, in fact, most of us probably want to get into our slides, and we've got our nice bio. This is why I'm important. This is why I'm standing up here kind of slide, right? I've decided, right, I'll put my picture up there, and then I go, okay, so what is it that you guys really, like what would make you guys leave this presentation and go, yes, that's what I wanted to learn? Like what made you sign up for this? And, at first people are like, what? Hold on a second. Don't you know you've got your topic up there? And I go, no, where do you want me to head? And what that does is it also helps me understand the timing of it too. Because like you mentioned, Terry, is you've got the content, but if you were to just read it really fast, it may be a little bit shorter. So you want to leave some space in there. But on those things that people bring up is like, yep, this is what I'm really interested in. You linger in that a little bit longer, and maybe you leave a few of the other things out or not hit them in such great detail. So, that's just a thought there.
And there's nothing wrong with also saying, hey, listen, we're going to get to that subject here in a couple of slides.
Yeah.
And so, because you don't want to get all out of order. Those slides, for me, the slides are there just to keep me on track. Because I don't know if the listeners have ever noticed this. It's pretty easy to get me off track.
The slides to me are kind of like my pacifier, kind of like my baby blanket, right? If I am feeling uncomfortable, I can kind of point to the slides, go back to my notes, get back into the spot where I need to be, and like I said, keep me on track. So, Todd,
Aaron,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go. You go first.
Well, I was just, you talking about the pacifier. When I first started doing screen printing classes, I had a yellow legal pad with notes, and about 40 pages of notes about what I was going to talk about. And when I would start the class, I would have that notepad or that legal pad in my hand, and somewhere along the lines, I realized I'd never look at it. I just held it in my hand. It was a security blanket.
Yeah.
And it was so hard for me to leave that behind when I flew to Chicago to do a class. I remember it was a class at Atlas Screen Supply, and I didn't take the notes. And I was kind of nervous, thinking, well, what if I just like forget where I am, while I'm talking? 2 8-hour days of up there talking, And I thought, man, it was just a security blanket. All the information's right here. If I get stumped, it's all right here in this notepad. But anyway.
Well, but it's good to have those things, because it's not necessarily I've got the notepad because I'm going to get stuck in the middle of it, but the fact that you took the time to put that notepad together solidified the information, right? And so,
exactly.
Since we're talking about it, I'll just give you kind of my process is, I kind of have the general idea of the concept I want to talk about, and then like the pictures of what I want the slides to look like. And I kind of build the slides first, and then I go back through and I basically write out a script. Now, when I first started with Terry, my script was on the slides as opposed to on the notes.
Yeah.
I fixed that part. But I'd write out a script so I kind of can think through in a little more detailed manner all of the different thoughts and points I want to bring up and the story and all that kind of stuff. And I used to just do that. And that was like, oh man, that was terrible, because I would like, I'd get lost in the slides. I wasn't paying attention. I was just trying to read this script. And so what I've found is I take one more step, and then I take that script and I just put in, a few bullet points as you were talking about, Terry, there, to keep myself on track. And that was probably my yellow legal pad in a sense there. And so, but still have to have something in my hand. Whenever I do public speaking, if there's no clicker, I definitely feel a little naked, so to speak.
I did feel very legit when I got my own clicker. I wasn't using the one from the
you've arrived. You're a speaker if you've got your own clicker and you have all the cords that you could need to plug your laptop into whatever projector.
That's right.
All right. So Todd, what Todd said here is he said, I submitted a class for Impressions Long Beach with Aaron. Let's see if they pick it up. So I didn't know that Todd had actually done that. I did tell him that I would do the class with him, so I'm super on board, but I don't know if he told me he submitted it. We were talking about maybe a class at APA and then also Long Beach, and so looks like Long Beach could be it. So I love it.
By the way, anybody speaking in awesome. Anybody speaking in Fort Worth, your slides are due today to the show.
I know, Terry. I'm getting there.
I was actually adding pictures to mine this morning, but it's ready to go now.
All right. Well, I think we covered a lot. I think we kind of went all over the place. We covered why participation's good, and going from that. Rena says, I hope they pick it up in Long Beach. Rena, I did also, I don't know, Eric, if you can scroll way back, but she had a comment earlier about the fact that she's a big deal in her studio. Just ask her dog. Right? And I know that tongue in cheek, and we were laughing about being a big deal and stuff like that. But I just want to kind of hit that point about the fact that we all know and can share more than we probably understand, really, because I've had an opportunity. I've known Rena for a while, but I've had an opportunity to talk to her even more lately. And Rena has got such a depth of knowledge about what she does, right? That I bet you, if you wanted to talk to anybody about lasers or engraving, maybe even sublimation, you're going to learn something from Rena. So again, just remember, all of us have something we could share. It's just a matter of, are we willing to share that? So, all right, Terry, anything that we missed on this subject, or?
I think we covered quite a bit, and lots of nuggets of information. I think we covered a lot. So if you guys have questions, just reach out to us, and happy to kind of steer you in the right direction about sharing what you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, just reach out to us. Don't, there's nothing to be nervous about. And, even though Terry is a fantastic public speaker, he's willing to help. So, and I love the slide part. So if I can help with that. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, Terry, so what's the big book of travel telling us this week?
Yeah. Okay. August 24th, I'll be doing an Equipment Zone webinar with Jay Bassell, Dane Clement from Great Dane Graphics, Kelly Walters from Hottronics. We're doing a webinar called From Artwork to Application, Unlocking the Magic of DTF Transfer. So you can sign up for that for free at equipmentzone.com.
Nice.
My complete screen printing business course. I'm going to be at Workhorse Products here in Phoenix on September 23rd and 24th. And by the way, if you're going to the Fort Worth show, Workhorse is giving away 2 free passes to that class. So stop by the Workhorse booth and drop your name into the box and maybe win 2 free passes to my class. And I'm going to be back in Chicago with Atlas Screen Supply doing that same class on November 4th and 5th. I will be at Fort Worth speaking. I'm doing a seminar on DTG and DTF, and I'm also moderating a panel, and that will be September 14th through 16th. And all of my upcoming events you can find at terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, so I am really excited about Fort Worth coming up here. As Terry said, the slides are due. I'm just tweaking them, right? Oh, is there enough content? I've got Terry-itis right now, but no, I love it. And so I'm going to be sharing at Fort Worth, excuse me, at the Impressions Expo there. We've got a workshop coming up called the ABCs. Sorry, I'm out of order here, Eric. We've got the ABCs Design Print Market, and it's going to be happening with the Magic Touch, Corel Trainer, and also Creo. So it is a full day workshop on September 13th. And that's the day before the show opens. If you go to osg.link/ABCs, that is just a short link to get you over to the Impressions Expo to get signed up for that workshop. So please sign up for that. I'm going to go back up. Also have another program coming soon with the good folks over at Corel Trainer. And I'm going to be hosting a webinar that they are sponsoring, and it's called Strategic Planning and Time Management. So I'm going to be talking about, how we can better plan for our business, work on our business, not in our business all the time. And then also what time management is and some tools and techniques that can help you better manage your time. And I'll give everybody the little secret here real quick. You come and learn more, but we don't have a time management problem. We've got a priority management problem, but we're going to get into that. So that's happening on August 22nd, and it's going to happen at 12 noon if you're in the Pacific time zone, or 3 p.m. Eastern if you're on the East Coast. If you happen to be here in the center of the universe, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's happening. And you can go register at oursuccessgroup.com/growth, GROWTH. And then coming up very soon in September, we've got our very popular 5 Keys of Marketing workshop happening for our Success Group. And we're going to help you build a 12-week roadmap and marketing plan that is catered to your business. It's not some marketing claim that only works for our business. We're going to help you put the groundwork in place to understand how to market to your specific business. And this is about executing a marketing process so you can have your best fourth quarter yet. And you'll have the guidance you need to build that plan. So there's a full workbook and plenty of support there. OSG members get this as part of their membership, but you can also join in even if you're not an OSG member, and it's only $79. So if you go to oursuccessgroup.com/5 keys marketing, the number 5 keys marketing, you can check out more information and get signed up for that. And then finally, for me, as you heard from Lewis a little bit earlier, the Fundamentals of Business Success book is available, and you can check that out at oursuccessgroup.com/FBS book. So, Terry, would you share what Eric's got coming up here?
Let's see. Today, the Take Up, it's episode number 164, Transformative Embroidery Software Tools, Operators, Automations, and Envelopes. In this episode, we'll talk about how to use basic graphical operators and transformations to enhance your embroidery designs and speed up object creation. We'll discuss how knowing the way tools work can let you use them for more than you might have imagined. And head over to ericcampbell.com and click the Take Up tab at the top. Join live at 2:30 Mountain Mountain Daylight Time as opposed to Mountain Standard Time. Sorry, Eric. Every Friday for that. And see Eric at Impressions Expo Fort Worth for presenting embroidery's value proposition.
Excellent. Perfect. Jerry asked, great intro. When will the scheduled guest begin? Jerry, I guess if he ever shows up. No, I know Jerry was joking, I believe, but yes. So, speaking of scheduled, though, the secret sauce, Terry, it's again, my mouth is watering. So, can you? Are you ready to bring us the secret sauce?
Let's bring some secret sauce. All right. My secret sauce today is about testing for proper screen print cure. So most screen printers use plastisol ink. So this test is for that ink technology. So each of us have probably owned a t-shirt or a sweatshirt where the image started to crack or wash out after just a few washings. So what causes that? Undercuring of the plastisol ink. And we can also have issues with too high temperatures as well. So the bottom line is this. We need to zero in on the temperature of our garments in the dryer, not necessarily the temperature of the air at the dryer belt, but the temperature of the garment. So here's the science, as we like to say here on Two Regular Guys. Plastisol ink cures at 320 degrees. So when you see the internet and it says that your garment needs to be in the dryer for 2 minutes or 3 minutes or some amount of time, that information is meaningless. The reality is, the very second the entire ink film thickness reaches 320 degrees, it's cured. So what happened to that concert sweatshirt that started to crack? Well, the garment also has to be at 320 degrees where the ink touches the fabric. One reason that a garment might be cooler than the ink film in your dryer is moisture in the garment. So if it's you're in a humid area, that garment is going to absorb the moisture, and so that fabric will not get above 212 degrees until the moisture is evaporated. So what can we do? If you're in a humid area, you can run the garments down the dryer tunnel before you print, or you can put the garment under your flash unit before you print to drive any moisture off. So in the title of this secret sauce, I said, there's a test. So here's the good news. It's a simple and inexpensive test. So call your screen print supplier today and order temperature strips. So now some suppliers might call them paper thermometers or temperature tape or a similar name, but your supplier will know exactly what it is you want. So it's going to be a small envelope with a dozen paper strips inside. The paper strip's going to look like a thermometer, and it has adhesive backing on it. So under heat, this strip is going to turn black up to the highest temperature it reaches. So if the strip turns black up to 320 degrees, you have a proper cure. So here's the pro tip though. Don't adhere that strip to the outside of the shirt. I don't care what the temperature is outside the shirt. You're going to take that strip, peel off the backing, and stick it inside the shirt under the image area. That way we know that the garment actually reached 320 degrees. And in turn, that ink film is thoroughly cured. So today, when you call your screen print supplier, tell them you need temperature strip number 5. Temperature strip number 5. The number 5 strip is going to give you the temperature range for curing plastisol. So going forward, when you print a new style garment, do the temperature test. Periodically, for instance, when the seasons change, do the same temperature tests. It's an incredibly simple test, but you're never going to get that call from a customer saying that your prints have cracked or washed out. So test your garments for a proper cure with a temperature strip. That's my secret sauce.
Awesome. I love that secret sauce, Terry. Good job. I wish there was a secret
fun. I love this new category. Then good on you, Aaron.
Yeah, it's worked out really well, and I wish there was a secret sauce like that for DTF curing too. So,
well, let me ponder on. Maybe I should investigate that. Write a little secret sauce about it.
Can you write an article or a secret sauce for that? That would be great. All right. Well, Terry, we have come to the close of another show. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. Excuse me. And Terry, great job on pulling this one out of it. I think the great part is I think we've still got more that we can pull out of this topic. So
I think so too.
We're not going to make it a 3-part
lines of some for a future show, and I put some more future show ideas down there, or a future show idea down there too as well. But we also want to thank Eric for pushing those buttons and turning the wheels and popping in for about 8 seconds while you were frozen. So thanks, Eric, for all you do.
Yes, indeed. I very much appreciate that. Speaking of Eric, he's going to be sitting in for me next week, and we're going to be talking to Teresa Hagel is going to be joining us. I don't know if we missed it last year or what exactly happened, but this is going to be that they do an industry. What would you call it, Terry? Kind of
like an industry survey.
Yeah, kind of like state of the industry. That's the term I was looking for. State of the industry. Goodness gracious. So she's going to come on and share and talk about that, and we're going to dig into that state of the industry report. I'm not going to be able to be here, but I am super excited to tune in and be a regulator myself next week. And so looking forward to that, Terry.
Absolutely. I always love that presentation. There's always little nuggets that I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not realize that. So looking forward to having Teresa back on the show. So until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.